Namaskaram and a very good evening to everyone. Welcome to today's episode, and we are very proud to introduce our artist of tonight. Today, we have Sri Lalgudi GJR Krishnan sir, who needs no introduction. But anyway, I will give an attempt at it. He is the son and disciple of the late legendary violinist Sri Lalgudi Jayaraman sir. Lalgudi GJR Krishnan sir is a prolific performer, composer and teacher as well as accompanist, and is the leading exponent of the Lalgudi Bani. Namaskaram, and we welcome you to this episode, sir.
Yes.
Namaskar, sir. Very, very happy to have you in this episode. From the side of SIFAS, we welcome you to this Sangeetha Sambhashana series.
Namaskaram, Sri Ravindran and
Nishant.
Yeah.
I'm very equally happy.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, it's really a privilege to speak to you, and I would like to begin this session by asking, I know, of course, that Lalgudi sir often taught his compositions and other compositions with the vocals first before translating into the violin. So may I just ask, when you were young, how did it start for you in your musical journey? Was it on vocals or violin, or what was it like?
Yeah, that's it's a given thing in Lalgudi Bani that vocal music is taught first. I started learning this from my grandfather, Sri Lalgudi Gopalayar, who was my father's guru and my first guru. So only after a few months was I given the violin, because we need to know the placement of notes. And after all, this Bani is to make the violin sing, or the Gayaki Ang, as they call it. So vocal is very essential so that the spirit of the composition, the soul of the music comes out. So first, we are taught vocal. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Your Bani is like, your dad's Bani is held in very high esteem. So how long did it take to evolve the Bani? It's from your grandfather's time, or even before? How many generations did it take to build it?
Yes, I can tell you that the seeds for the Bani were sown by my grandfather, but it was my guru and father who gave shape to it and who introduced it. It was not an overnight process.
Yeah.
Years of thought process, years of hard work and research. And he was very particular about bringing out the classicism. The Bani should carry the classicism of the music. He was very particular, and it should not sound like instrumental. And all these, and you know that he was such a person who could absorb anything that was heard. For example, when he was hardly 10 or 11, there was no electricity in the house that he lived in Lalgudi. He would go to the municipal park, where at a particular time this radio programs were broadcast. He would go and watch and listen to this radio broadcast, and immediately when other kids in the streets will be playing, he would just with single-mindedness rush back to his home, and he would immediately pick up the violin, and immediately whatever he heard for half an hour or 45 minutes would be reproduced. That phenomenal ability he had. So he had the unique opportunity or blessing to accompany great stalwarts of his time. So he was able to assimilate, not that he just whatever he assimilated, he just added it up and made a Bani out of it. No, he made them his own. Even when he gave the replies in his repartees, in the Sawal Jawab, his style was there. he would be replicating the vocalist, but the undercurrent beneath that, there will be the Lalgudi Bani, and his first solo started 1958 in Chennai, after which lot of duets with my aunt, Lalgudi Smt Vijayalakshmi, which mesmerized the audiences, and people used to flock to his concerts. And those days, instrumental concerts were not many. It was because of the strength of the Bani. So I'll come to the Bani. It is a Bani, you have to have some consistency. It cannot be a random thing where your aesthetics are filtered and given expression through your music. And there is a sense of proportion. Nothing is done in excess. That is the strength of this Bani. And he has devised the fingering, a particular fingering for a particular phrase, for a particular anusaram. That anusaram would have to be played that way in that string. So these are all thought about, and it's not just random. You play the way you like. It's not like that. Even every student is taught the way that he, with the perfection, he would expect that perfection from the student. And a beautiful combination of melody and laya, where melody takes a precedence and the undercurrent is the mat. You can feel it in his, the best way to hear his Bani is through his composition. So yes, all the tilanas, they are very beautiful and easy on the ears and very melodical, very melodious. But only when you dissect and analyze will you be able to find out the math behind it. Yeah. Everything is coated with melody. And also, he was very particular that we should know the sahityam of any composition and the meaning, so that you render the composition as per the spirit of the composer. And whatever, the Patantaram, he gave such importance to it. I can refer to it. I'll come back to it when we talk. So all these things created the Lalgudi Bani, and it is a Bani which can be replicated, which can be followed. The test of a Bani is that it should be capable of being followed, and it should withstand the test of time. So this has both of them. And another thing I want to mention here is the Bani is capable of adapting to any other Bani. When he played for GN sir, it was GN, he accompanied it the same way. And when he accompanied Madhuramani Iyer sir, it was like Madhuramani Iyer singing the surams and all that. Even though his intellect is involved there, you can make out that it is Madhuramani Bani and it is Sri Lalgudi who is playing the violin. So his Bani also used to be there as an undercurrent. So these are and a very keen eye for aesthetics and anusaram. That is also a hallmark of this Lalgudi Bani. Yes. And every opportunity, instrument is never a limitation. He was just a musician expressing music, and the medium did not obstruct him from expressing himself musically. So these are all the strengths of the Bani.
Wonderfully said, sir. It can't be better expressed in any other words. No, in your own words. We are happy to listen from you. And coming to your journey in music, I'm very interested to ask you, was there any benchmark that your dad set for you to sit along with him for a duet?
He was a perfectionist, everybody knows, and no concessions, whether it is his own children or his disciples. He expected the same amount of perfection from any of his students. So, and he was very strict, and there was no father-son relationship when it came to music. It was a Guru Shishya relationship only. So, and only when anybody is ready would he offer them a dais, a place to sit along with him, and lot of litmus tests had to be passed.
Oh.
And there were some mock concerts. I was given rigorous training in Nandi Hills, and it was natural music with music 24/7 in your house. It is very natural that whether we sit in a class or we don't, we assimilate. It's a process of osmosis that music seeps into you with or without your knowledge. So with all this and some training and some mock concerts, it was, since you asked this question, I should say that 4 days from now, that is September 9th, I'll be completing 48 years of professional career, and I started my first concert in Sri Krishnan Sabha, where my father was my guru and father was seated in the dais, occupying center stage, and my first guru was in the audience. All the three were honored by Sri Agiraman on that occasion. I cannot forget that.
There should have been a great occasion and good recognition and good startup for you at that point.
And one more thing I just want to add, and only after some 10 years of performing along with him, and some things were rehearsed, some things were given on the stage, and especially in marriage concerts, even the compositions he played was totally new. I was made to accompany. That skill was honed without my realizing it, and only then was he placed as an accompanist to any other vocalist. So he didn't show any concession because he's my son. You can start accompanying from the word go. No.
And a genius like your dad, when he plays, he cannot be fixed to one particular thing. There may be many surprises, yes, that we can normally expect to be.
Yeah, even in the rehearsed pieces, he would throw surprises because he cannot restrain himself. He cannot restrict himself. It just flows out. So I have to be ready to face those challenges. Those are very beautiful moments in my musical career.
Yes.
Sir, you mentioned just now that, of course, he trained you to accompany him and also perform alongside him. We also know that you are an exceptional accompanist as well as a solo as well as a duet artist. In your early part of your journey, which one did you spend the most time on? Was it as an accompanist, or was it as a solo performer, or as a duet performer?
I mean, it was more of a duet, I should say, because my father was a very busy artist. And I started accompanying, I was blessed to accompany Sangeetha Kalanidhi Pitamaha, Dr. Shammangudi Srinivas for the first time. I started my vocal accompaniment with Dr. Shammangudi. And I have accompanied Sri Nethanuri sir, Sri Valeti Venkateshwara, Sri Maharaj Brahmasantanam, Sri D.K. Jairam sir, Sri T.N.S. sir, and Sri Ramani sir, and many others. And I was also studying, so my plate was full. I managed to finish my MCom, ICAA, and ACS. With all this, I was doing
academics
and professional music career. So, if I were to be free, I would be given a free hand to go and play and accompany. Only if it clashed with my duet or a solo, would I say no. So it was a learning experience and a different kind of experience altogether.
As playing duet with your father, then you might have shifted to playing duet with your sister. So the combination is like heavenly, because when it goes like two well practiced and you are always together, and you have a very good rapport with your sister, when the duet goes very well. So as a senior partner, when you play with your sister, what difference do you feel like? You take the lead?
I mean, it's basically a role reversal, I should say.
Yeah.
I would have felt my sister will be feeling now. That is when I accompanied my father, but
Yes.
it is more or less equal. In some cases, she takes the lead also without explicitly announcing. And we have developed such a rapport that on the stage, if I make a change, if I make an embellishment to say a pallavi or a composition, a pallavi of a kriti or a kirtanam, if I make a slight change, she will sense it and both will be in tandem. That is the matching of the minds. When we are in sync, that happens. It doesn't happen from the day one. So years of practice together, and even now, I mean, we have to practice together to play in tandem, because we are not playing just gross notes. We are playing highly nuanced music. So a slight variation by one will make it very jarring. And we are playing at the same pitch also, so that makes it, we have to be in sync. And I also throw up challenges, and at times she also does. And it is a very beautiful journey, because while on stage, you have to manage so many other things. The extra variables, the variables are always varying with every concert. The hall acoustics, the instruments, felicity, and your fingers, and the accompanist, the audience, all these have to be managed. And this comes with experience. And if you have that single-mindedness to absorb and manage and to react to situation, this will definitely, you can become a better artist.
Yes, sir. Like your father, are you teaching any vocalists also? Like your father had taught a lot of vocalists that we have seen, and now so many are in the circuit who are singing very well.
It happens in random workshops, not that I teach somebody regular. I was teaching a few students. It's not so regular.
Okay.
Yes, that's a very good question. And some people say, how can instrumentalists teach vocalists? That is something which is unnecessarily raised by people, but we cannot stop that. For example, even Shamangudi Narayan Samir sir taught Sri Shamangudi Srinivasayar. So he was both a violinist and a vocalist.
Yes.
And we have instances of Tirukodi Kaval Krishnayar and many other instrumentalists teaching, and many vocalists have learned from instrumentalists. Because
Yammasama also learned from her mom, and then Madurai Sundaresa Bhattar was a violinist.
yes,
It's all in the history, but in current scenario, there are various views about these things. That's why I just put up that question.
yes.
So, coming to your trust work, that is Lalgudi Trust, that's a lot of work. And recently, we had seen your episodes of like training some luthiers in India to make good standard violins of Stradivari variant. So, you can just elaborate about the works of your trust, sir.
Yeah, in the year 1965, my father was invited to perform in the Edinburgh Music Festival by Lord Ehudi Menihan. He accompanied Sri K.V. Narayan Swami sir, along with Vidwan Palkat, Sri Maniyar and Sri Rajamani. On that occasion, he carried the violin of Sri Papa Venkatramaya, who was much senior to him, for taking it to Hill and Sons in London and get it repaired.
Oh.
So this is an important message, because since the advent of violin, it has progressed in the concert arena pushing back the veena and flute as an accompanying instrument. It came to the front and also occupied the center stage. But with regard to maintenance and repair, it was always a nightmare. It was like staying in a village where there was no doctor, but only you had quacks. So you are better off not going and checking up with them for some correction, for remedy, because you would get worse. You are better off moving away from the village to a town or a city where you can have the facility of a qualified doctor. So that was the situation.
Oh.
And there have been instances when my father's violin was mishandled by the repairman. For example, while setting the sound post, because of lack of skill. And I don't blame them either, because they didn't have the opportunity to get access to the skill and knowledge, which was highly specialized. And by empirical methods, by observation, by intuition, by logic, they try to make a living and try to repair instrument with no specialized tools, because this is a highly specialized skill with so many specialized tools. They were, after all, using the automobile tools or any other carpentry tools to repair the violin, which is a very fine and sensitive instrument. So, and on occasion, my father's F-hole was damaged while the repairman tried to set the sound post. These things were sitting in my mind, and I just thought of doing something. And when you have the desire or passion to do, when the thought is very strong, the universe can sense it and it will make way for things to happen. That's how this happened. A student of mine in Santa Barbara, he introduced me to James Zimmer, master luthier in Santa Barbara, and his weakness was India. That became my strength. So I invited him to India, and he was very skeptical at that time. He said, I have tried many a time through the government. It failed. If you invite me, I'll definitely come. So it didn't happen the next year. Probably after 5-6 years it happened. He had visited Chennai also. I'll make the story short. Then 2013, after my father had passed away, we had this workshop right on the first floor of my residence, and it was inaugurated by my mother. And it was a 14-day workshop. Within 10 days, she passed away. But we didn't stop the workshop, because she would never have wanted the workshop to be stopped because of her departure. So with her blessings, this has continued. 2013, 2015, 2016 to 2017. 2018, there was a campfire. Then 2019, it was 1.5 month rigorous training for 4 craftsmen. I mean, I went inviting people all over from India, but some people came, and in between we had a collaboration with Kalakshetra where some students also joined. But this requires repeated follow-up and passion. So 4 were ready, and 2020 was a very significant year for the violin, or rather string instruments of the violin family in India, because four of them made each a copy of a replica of 1702 Stradivarius violin, using the European technique, using the European tools, and the way in which any other European violin would have been made, because the wood was brought by Mr. James Zimmer. And during my trips to US, I brought in some tools, and tools were given for free, and the workbench culture was introduced, because they were sitting on the floor, but this is not a done thing for violin repair. And I'm proud to say that I have been instrumental through the Lalgudi Trust without any other government or financial support. Of course, we had a few kind-hearted souls who held this. Uh, but it is a great breakthrough. They can make any string instrument of the violin family and repair. So these four, now the next target is to make them grow, multiply the numbers.
Yes,
of
yes.
the
Because
crafts.
that was a great initiative that I used to follow with the great amusement. That such a thing happening in India was not thought about even maybe a few years back before it was started by you. So that was a great initiative. Maybe the instrument might get familiar in North India, maybe more in the future to come, so that they have good demands also.
Yeah, the media has to, popularize this and make it sensational.
Yes,
And
yes,
only
yeah.
this will, because there is great demand. Music, violin is not restricted just to Carnatic music. We have it in Hindustani music, ghazal music, bhajan music, and light music, cine music. So this is a great area which will have phenomenal demand for such craftsmen, and it should happen.
So when you said about stick banis, I was just about to ask you that now currently many students who are exposed to many styles are who imbibe are attracted to many good qualities from different styles. They tend to pick some from here and some from there, and they mix up. Now there is not particular bani. Many violinists don't play in particular bani, but is that advisable? Or maybe there are about 3 particular banis. Anybody should follow that bani.
I mean, for that, I should talk a few things about myself. I belong to the Lalgudi Bani. My sister also belongs to the Lalgudi Bani. But we have devised a path, not consciously. We have evolved as a musician. It doesn't happen by the thought process that you want to be different from what has been handed over to you. No, that's not the thing. We still belong to the Lalgudi Bani, but we are different. When my sister plays, you can make out that it is she. But we complement each other. That is the beauty. Ultimately, the aesthetics, the essence, the quintessence of the Bani should not be lost.
Okay.
I have a different approach because as a person, my way of expressing has to be different. Otherwise, it will be a carbon copy which will be totally lifeless. To give life, no guru can teach. It has to come from within. However capable the guru is, it has to come from the spark of the student. And it comes with a lot of feeling and evolution of the person. Okay, that is one thing. This is not peculiar only to violin. Even in Mridangam, we have a mixture of banis. Yes. One thing I wanted to just say is, you just cannot add up 2 or 3 banis and keep playing. And when you handle this ragam, I'll play this bani. It's not right, actually.
Okay.
You have to make it into a homogeneous style. You can pick from different styles, no, nothing wrong. But it cannot be in parts. See, if you look at the wall, you should not be able to see the bricks. It should be cleanly plastered, and it should be one single unit or one single continuum. That is very essential. And also, the aesthetics should never be lost sight of. Aesthetics is something which is unique, and that is the purpose of music. Everybody must realize that music is to convey beauty. That is the first thing one should understand. So when they understand that, they will be able to differentiate and able to make the different banis, in case they are trying to absorb, into a single homogeneous product with their entire thought process into it. So that is one good thing. And the classicism, again, should never be lost sight of. It should have the Carnatic idiom, because after all, we are playing or singing Carnatic music. So whichever style, the music should remain intact, or it should be projected, it should be embellished all the more.
So while doing a while, as you say, while performing a while as a violinist, when we follow Gayaki style, we do whatever a vocalist can do on his vocal cards. And apart from that, there might be certain things which a violinist only can do. When you come to the strict adherence to vocal style of music in instruments. For example, when we have to produce only what a vocalist can produce, or we can produce something which is unique only to the instrument.
Yeah, it's a very intelligent question. Yes, we have to, when we are performing solos or duets, whichever instrument, the potential of the instrument should be brought out. I mean, you have to design it in such a way that it is not just exposition of technique. At no point should music be sacrificed. Music should be there intact. The range, the octaves should definitely come out, and the speed, definitely, because we are trying to project the tone of the instrument, the potential of the instrument and the music. But at no time, no point of time should we lose sight of music, is my opinion. And even in accompanying vocalists, some vocalists have the understanding between the accompanist and the vocalist. So they give ample freedom.
Yes.
And that is, it is a subjective thing. It cannot be said objectively, but it's a very good question. And the context is also very important. Where you introduce the potential of the range of the, it should be appropriate. The appropriateness is very essential in music also.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sir, I mean, this while we've discussed how intertwined vocal and violin are, especially in the Gayaki style of violin playing. I just want to ask, let's say for junior violin students in SIFAS or elsewhere, would you say that pursuing vocal, separately in a serious track is also essential to being a good violinist, or they should just mainly focus on violin alone?
See, I told you about my growing up and learning. It did not stop at that point. I mean, after I was given the violin, my vocal thing stopped. Each kriti has to be sung first. It has to be taught vocally first. And we have, each school has a different way of teaching. We follow a strict notation. If you have seen Lalgudi's creation, containing my Guru's compositions, Tilanas and Varnams, you will find the notation. Even the Anusara's marked, even the Gamaka's marked. So the Patantaram is to be respected. There must be discipline in the Patantaram. So that comes only with notation. Notation limits or restricts you from deviating. Some artists or probably some practitioners tend to have the habit of making even the kalpitam as a kalpana sangeetam. To improvise one day what they sing as a kriti will not be the same the next day. There is improvisation even in the rendering of the kriti. There is a very delicate balance. So each song has to be learned vocally. Now we have another trend, since you mentioned this. Vocal is the king, goes the saying. And it's been the case even today, because we have seen many instrumentalists just switching over to vocalists and becoming more popular. So to remain instrumentalist and still win the thing is a greater challenge, and we are really relishing it.
We have seen only many violinists turning to vocal. rather than any other instruments in the recent past.
Yeah,
I've
you're
seen
right.
many,
Yes. Yes.
not a few, many.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you please carry on.
No, sir. I was just wondering. Actually, in line with what you said, would you say that, given the strict notation and strict padandram that you've had, the same kriti that you kind of, let's say, you perform today compared to 30 years ago, would you say it is the same or it's different?
No, it is. It is different. It is getting better in your perspective. You have your perception of aesthetics. So it gets modified, it gets evolved consciously or without your conscious effort. For example, what the version of Theerada Vilayattu Pillai that was recorded and released in LP was different. And what he played in concerts with my aunt was different. What he played with me was different. It is not like making a drastic change. Some clippings here, some additions there. That is very natural. So that is some prayogas which after a while, because of age or whatever, you say this is not necessary. This will be more appropriate. So thus that thinking would happen in a very sensitive musician. Very consciously, I should say, and this practice of self-criticism is very essential. You have to listen to what you play, and you can definitely make corrections, make improvements. So that is a very essential thing. It is not a deviation, but it's an improvement. Respecting the composer and the notation. Yes.
Sir, as you said about Theerada Vilayattu Pillai, I remember some phrases in Shanmukapriya or some phrases after Pullangudal Kundu Varuvan. These were amazing things that when we listened for the first time, we were amazed at how an artist can produce this. So there was a mastery over that rendition, sir.
Yeah. So each opportunity he wanted to communicate. Instrument we call in olden days, or perhaps even now, we call it's a dumb instrument. He wanted to disprove that it can spell out the ip and the itch that is being sung. So he used we all use it, the bow, the modulation, the thick and thin, and every opportunity. If you give me in current situation, if you say, with reference to auto drivers, if you leave a little room, they will just forge in. So every place, when there is an opportunity, we have to make use of it and communicate and express it to the audience, especially those words and things like that. Yes.
So when you say about these things, I used to think from your point, like when you were sitting on the stage with your guru, you will be playing and observing at the same time. So that there'll be a learning process and you also performing. So the attention should have been like more than 100%. So what it need to be there?
I mean, I have told this in other interviews also. The first time you perform, you are there just to deliver what was taught. Then only comes your expression. You add life to it. That is the natural process. We cannot ripening or the seasoning happens only with time. It doesn't happen on day one. It's a very natural thing. So after you pass the stage of just repeating what has been taught, then you start observing. Then you try to give it back on stage. You fall a couple of times. Then you rise up. That's how you have to be. And then when something is given to you, you give a repartee totally differently, slightly differently. So you understand, and on the spot you are able to give that repartee. So these things are very unique, and you have to be really observant. Otherwise, it is as good as a piece of wood sitting along. Unless you absorb and react and assimilate, there is no point. Experience doesn't come with years. It comes only when you have the inner fire in you to learn, grasp, and make it your own.
Can you recall any moment that on a stage that you played well and your father appreciated you on the stage? Any exceptional moments, sir?
There have been many moments. I've been accompanying from 73 till 2006. I have been so blessed. And those days, that generation of artists, and especially my father and Guru, if he smiles at me, that is an appreciation.
Yeah.
And sometimes he would say, Sabash Bale. That would be for my playing on occasions. On many occasions, it will be Sabash because he got another idea to play next.
Okay.
So that is one stage. Afterwards, in the latter part of his career, when anybody becomes weak and you're not at your best, even Olympic runners, it is a natural thing. So I had to take the challenge and support him without exposing him.
Yes.
And about that stage, even slightly before, I used to come up with korvais, which he really appreciated, and he has played many a korvai, and I have suggested some pallavis also to him. And these things, when he takes it with a smile, that is blessing and appreciation.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in your that style, what violinists generally feel was the playing of purthams while playing any kanaka or calculations. That was the introduction by your dad.
Yes, if you see, this is a book, An Incurable Romantic, beautifully written by Lakshmi Devnath, who is the mother of Shreya Devnath, who is my Guru's disciple as well. This is HarperCollins. They have published it. And this contains a beautiful biography about him. And he has openly, one great thing about my Guru is he would always acknowledge where he got it from. So, first time he accompanied Sri GN sir, he was totally overawed by the Puruttams. That Sani Vani Ma Pa Ma in Re Ma Pani Sati Ba Ma Pani Sati Ba Ma, like that. So those days it was just singing it up to the contiguous note, next adjacent note, and then taking the ediper. So this was an eye-opener. Of course, my Guru took it several notches higher.
Yeah.
And he sophisticated it, and the beauty about it is he would never overdo anything. The sense of proportion is also a quality of the Lalgudi Bani.
Yeah. As you said earlier, yes, sir, please continue.
The gamakams are very essential, but how much of it? He would always come up with this example of adding salt to a dish. Salt, of course, gives taste to the dish, but for the quantity of dish that you are preparing, how much of salt? If you add 2 spoons, will it make it all the more tastier? Or if you add 4, no. So the right amount. So that sense of proportion is very essential. He always used to say, yeah.
As you earlier said about the strict notations, when I had the books of your father's compositions, when we try to play and listen and to try to replicate the same Sangati with the help of the notations, then we feel that we need to adapt some special fingerings for some places that we feel. Then we watch the videos, and only then we can play it perfectly. So this matching the notation with maybe a new kind of fingering for that particular phrase, as you said. I was able to feel that in my experience also in following your father's notations. That is an exemplary thing. That when he composed, he might not have foreseen what kind of fingering to use.
No.
So that is completely based on his vocal strengths and whatever his imagination. Then might have been the fingerings created for that.
Yeah, it was a spontaneous outpouring. There have been occasions when he would get up from his sleep and notate something that came up, or there would be occasions when he would get up from his sleep and correct what he had composed earlier. So he was his own biggest critic, and he was always for improving it. And so that is the beauty about it. And sometimes Sahityam came first, sometimes music came. Sometimes it came together also. There have been occasions. One example I would like to place on record is this beautiful Padavarnam in Neelambari, Sendil Nagar. It is being danced to and sung all over the world. That composition was initially a Thanavarnam, Nada Swarupini Devi. It was without changing a single swaram, he composed Sahityam to it. And it looks as though he composed the Sahityam first and composed the tune, because they go hand in hand, so appropriate. So,
yes, in any Padavan, there's the basic necessity. Yes.
Yeah, these are all things which happens when you have the connectivity, is my feeling. When the connection happens, when there is desire and passion, it will happen for those who seek. It has happened for me too. So you have to seek and go and search for it.
Sir, composing music, do instrumentalists have some advantage over pure vocalists?
I would say the musician in the instrumentalist or the musician in the vocalist is the deciding factor, rather than whether he's an instrumentalist or the vocalist. Vocalist doesn't have an edge, or instrumentalist doesn't have an edge. You should be capable of being inspired. That is the first. You should be a rasika. You should appreciate nature. That is one basic essential quality. You look at the sunrise and look at the watch and walk back. That is not a musician quality. You should just gaze at it, forget everything, and you should even lose track of time. One instance I would like to quote is when we were there in Bangalore for a concert in Ramaseva Mandali. We went for a walk, evening walk, to Alsur Lake, where there were so many birds, and we were totally engrossed in the watching the birds. And suddenly we looked at the watch. It was very late for getting late for the concert, so we ran. So that is the musician. If everything after looking at nature is as per clockwork, you are not a musician.
So, but I think being a Lakshana Vidwan, whether it's a vocalist or instrumentalist, is very important for that comes in a way.
Yeah, and he was very firm, and he was sure that he was doing only to better it, not to project his own ego. That was never the case with him. So when he found that the Arohanam, Avrohanam is slightly different, it has been sung differently, he would not hesitate, even though nowadays the ball game is totally different. Anybody can do anything. But in those days, to have the conviction when there were so many seniors around, so it requires that conviction in you and honesty and the integrity. So he has embellished or eschewed some prayogas. For example, in Kalyana Vasantam, which was sung differently and handled differently. Now it has come to stay. So that is.
Sir, about your composing experiences, maybe recently in the last decade or so, you have composed a few for dance also, dance
Yes,
dramas and so.
yes.
How it came about and
Yeah.
how it is the future.
I have sat through the process of composing of with my father and Guru. So when Jai Jai Devi was composed, or for that matter, any Varnam or Tilana was composed, I was through the process. I was observing, and so it became a bit natural. And I have composed for some dance, Sainadane Varika Varika in Colombo, and for that was for one dancer Divya Sujin, and for Revati Ramchandran Madam, I had composed for tuned rather for Jagat Pavani Ganga. There was that toured also the US, and Veda Bharati for Natya Arangam. My sister Lalgudi Vijayalakshmi and myself, we set to tune different Bharatiya songs. And apart from that, some other compositions have happened. And one major thing that we did was Sambhavami Yuge Yuge, where it covered some 8 avatarams. It was done for Cleveland Aradhana Committee, where we composed both the lyrics and the tune. And one important thing is both of us composed this. It's not like one piece is being composed by my sister. So that is where the matching of the minds come. So matching of the minds again is a very essential quality for the success of any concert, any Jugalbandi, for that matter, anything. When the vibes don't agree, then it will be totally disastrous. That we can draw examples from the emotions conveyed by ragas, which have beautiful interrelationships and not so beautiful relationships. So closely placed ragas. I mean, the swaras are very contiguous, the vivadis. So it is whatever the music is our extension, or we are the extension what is conveyed by music. Yes. So these I composed, and that was performed and had very good reception, but it should have continued. But we know this pandemic came in between, and it is such a joyful experience because you get into a zone. It is actually, you forget everything what is happening around music, or for that matter, violin itself is a magic wand. When I pick it up, you get into a trance. So that is how it should be. That comes with sadhana. And I have also set to tune some compositions and a couple of tilanas, which I have not started playing.
Okay, very eagerly waiting for that. And you are maybe when the situation gets better.
And also, my sister has composed several varnams and tilanas.
Okay, yes. Yeah, she's. I have seen like she's interested in writing some Tamil poems and all. I follow her on social network also. There where she puts in a lot of Tamil poems also. Sometimes it's very good. So the musicianship and poet coming together is a very rare thing, and it happens very rarely. And usually in Carnatic music, we have seen in those days composers who set to music their own compositions is there, but nowadays it's a rare thing to happen. It's very good among you and your sister to, and in future we can also, I think, expect more compositions of yours.
Yes.
Yeah.
It comes more as an inspiration, or when somebody asks for you to compose, that also happens.
So your experience with Singapore and SIFAS award.
Yes, Singapore, I should say it's a very strange coincidence that my first overseas trip happened with accompanying my guru to Singapore, and where my aunt Srimati Padmavati Anantagopalan was a faculty in SIFAS.
Yes.
and Mr. Sachi, Dr. Kashi, uh, and many others were there. It was such an experience for me. I mean, it was like seeing what you have seen in the movies. Just coming out of the airport. So I was totally overawed and intimidated by the what I saw around. But that apart, we have a beautiful recording that we gave for Singapore TV.
Oh.
You might have seen we showed a part of it in Lalgudi 90 of that happened last September. So, and it was again practice and practice, and there a separate room was allocated for me to practice, and we performed in for SIFAS, and the faculty, the students, everybody attending it. I still vividly remember, and there was a farewell concert also, which was closely held. And the Indian High Commissioner, Mr. Rao, was also there. And we have very beautiful memories. My mother had also come along. Shri Velu Ramabhadran was the mridangist.
Oh.
But apart from that, I have come again many times, once with my father and Guru also, and many times with my sister, and sometimes alone also, and also once with Dr. Sriram Parshram for a Jugalbandi.
I think that was in 2015 or so. Right?
Yeah.
I remember. If I remember correctly.
Each time the experience has been so wonderful because people come and listen to you, listen to the undiluted form of music with such rapt attention. So it is very satisfying, and the faculty like you are so hospitable, so kind, and you extend all the help that is possible in the world. So it is always like a home away from home, SIFAS. And it has been steadily continuing. It is a great service to do this from a country which is away from the home country of where all the art happens. You are spreading that art. It's for the next generation, when we are totally distracted and you are totally sold to the internet world. There is no such thing as innocence, or parenting is such a challenge. These healthy distractions, this service cannot be equated. Only when they grow up, they will realize the value of what SIFAS and such other organizations are. And for that matter, all the teachers there, because you have come all the way away from your home to just facilitate and pass on this great art. So hats off to all the faculty members also.
Thank you for your appreciations and good remarks, sir. So
I really enjoyed.
If you have anything in particular to say from your side, you can please go on. Towards the end of our.
Yeah. At every stage, whatever be the stage for an instrumentalist, when he learns a composition, he should first learn to sing it, and then only he can express it. That is very essential quality to bring out the richness, the bhava and the spirit of the composition. Apart from this, when now we have the facility of the internet, so it doesn't matter where you are, which part of the world you are. Just by the click of the mouse, you get to listen to the great masters. That is a very essential ingredient for you to evolve as a musician. You listen to the past masters and your current competitors or current performers. It is very essential to keep abreast and to learn from the great gems of the past masters. Kelvi Jnanam is very essential for you to evolve, and you should not have any restriction. When there is a live concert, students should be encouraged to go and attend. So it doesn't matter if that performer does not belong to your body. It doesn't matter. You have something to learn from anybody, and you can make it your own. That's the point I wanted to mention.
Thank you, sir. We want to listen from you a few, maybe like points about your duet performances with currently with your sister. Some interesting points, whatever comes to you, please go on, sir.
Yeah, definitely. A question that I would enjoy to answer. The journey has been so beautiful, and it has been a learning experience and unique anubhava, an experience by itself. Each concert is a bliss. The mindset, I should just say, when you pick up the violin and you are on stage, you should forget everything. That is the first thing you should make up. That resolve should be there as a performer for anybody. And we have picked it up. And that happens when you're exposed to wedding concerts. Wedding concerts here, you have especially most of the dais are situated next to the dining room, so and the kitchen. So with all the utensils going around and people greeting and shouting and children running around, those things should never distract you. You should be in your music. So that is a very useful practice session. And slowly the rasikas are swelling up, and they are starting to look up, because it's a very challenging thing when you have a great genius, a legend as your father and guru, and to come out of the shadow and establish an identity of your own that comes with great resilience and determination and perseverance. You should never give up, and you continue doing what you are doing. So we have beautiful rasikas who respond to our music, even now when we do some online concerts. And people look forward to every nuance that we play. For example, when we play Ragam Tanam Pallavi, occasionally in the earlier stages, we used to, after playing Ragam Tanam Pallavi, we used to play Ragamalika. And I used to reverse all the ragas that were offered in the Ragamalika seamlessly. And each time they will sit up and they will sit up with smiling faces. And for every change, it will not be a knee jerk. That is a very aesthetic experience, and it cannot be planned, because I do not know what my sister is going to play. And it's a beautiful challenge that I've always enjoyed. But for one concert, if I don't do that, some Rasika will be waiting to meet me and see ready to play. So they look forward. So I make it a point to, that's a very heartening thing. And I make it a point to, I have a weakness for Vibhaji ragas. I try to explore the beauty of the raga. Rather than making it an exercise, it should be an aesthetic experience. So I try to look for like the bee looking for the honey in the flower. I try to look for the aesthetic spots and try to explore and expand. That is, each time the beauty comes out differently. And sometimes when a particular note, it gives you goosebumps, and a connect happens. The connect happens in some concerts for a few moments, for a few minutes. Sometimes they don't happen, but we should seek always for that moment, because that moment, not only you, but the entire auditorium will be transported to a different world. And that is very infectious. And that apart, people come forward with requests to play a composition. That is always a welcome thing. And we set our own challenges, self-imposed challenges. For example, we try to, without planning, it's a blend of rehearsal and a spontaneity. So whatever we rehearse need not be played, as I have had that experience before. So when you are able to handle the smaller area challenges. When the area is larger, that skill is very easy. So to give great varieties within 16 notes and offering different porithms and not making it monotonous is a great challenge. And this skill I try to teach because it is a decision-making skill and also negotiating the raga without sacrificing the raga bhava. So these are things, and there will be rapid fire rounds in Quarepus. That is a thing which is also look forward to not only by the Rasikas but by the accompanists. The Mridangist will ask, what is the grenade you are having today? So that is the thing we always enjoy. And it is not over. The learning continues. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Then I wanted to ask you an interesting thing about Jugalbandis, not across any styles, but within the Carnatic style also. Tell us about the possibilities and what you have tried before.
Yeah. In my earlier question, what were you asked? I had mentioned about the Patantram, which is very essential. In a Carnatic music concert, the balance between the Kalpitam and Kalpana is very essential. It cannot be totally Kalpana. I mean, in a 4-hour concert, you can dedicate for 1 hour for Pallavi. That is totally improvisational. But it doesn't happen in a 2.5-hour concert. You have to still play a Pallavi for academy concerts, music academy. You have to have the Pallavi and also have a main. I mean, it's not compulsory, but we try to compress it and make a miniature presentation of the whole 4-hour concert. For that, when 2 artists combine, whether it is a vocal and a violin or a violin and any other instrument, the Patantaram becomes very essential. Unless both the artists sit together and rehearse and settle on a Patantaram, the experience will not be so elevating and the content will not be so rich. For example, when my guru took up this, it is almost a Jugalbandi, violin, Venu, Veena, equal status for though my father led it. Yeah. They rehearsed the Kirtanam, the notation was given. They memorized, practiced together, and that is how the perfection happened. So if you just meet on stage and play Antharumanabhalu or Niravati Sudha or Raghuvamsa Sudha, you can play it together, but the content, you won't get you must first, the performer, as a performer, you have to be satisfied. Then only you can satisfy the audience. That is my honest opinion. And one disadvantage of being a violinist in a Carnatic Jugalbandi is violin for years together has been an accompanying instrument. So the audience mindset and perhaps the performer's mindset also could take the route of the accompanist when you let the other person to lead. And it is not essential. So you should break out of this cliche and try to express yourself. And it is that is how I feel. That is, you have to sit together, practice together the kritis or tilana or varnam. Then the result will be phenomenal. Exponentially, the aesthetic experience will improve. That is how Carnatic music Jugalbandi should be. And of course, doing the Carnatic Jugalbandi, it will invite a lot more Rasikas because they would come forward to watch what is happening. That curiosity is kindled. And it is a very healthy thing. Some people will be just listening only to violin. They would never have listened to Veena. Then they could also come. I mean, even in this age, it happens because we also have some judgments and bias, which an experience could help you to come out of that bias.
So it was great talking to you, and your points were all so enlightening. I hope our students also, when they listen, they will imbibe some qualities from what you said. And it's very essential to listen from stalwarts
Yes.
in their words, to imbibe some qualities, or to develop some new habits, or to go and listen, or go and research in particular way what it's being told by stalwarts.
Yes.
So it is an essential quality for any student. And thank you so much for sharing all your experiences.
Yeah, it has been.
And throughout your journey of your life, you have told everything about it. Almost, I think we have touched every part of the journey.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for the interview, preparing an interview for SIFAS.
Yeah.
And we sincerely thank you.
Yeah, it is a very happy coincidence that this interview is taking place on Teachers' Day. From SIFAS, faculty and students. So it is a very fitting tribute to teachers and useful material, I'm sure. This will be not only for the current students, but for the students to come. And I really appreciate the effort of SIFAS for this effort to gather the experience. And because however much we play, unless we share these experiences, the nuances will not be appreciated by the students. And such valuable material is being collected from different sources and is made available at one single point. So the students of SIFAS are really blessed, and I wish them all the best, and also the organization. And thank you both for the interesting session. It was never monotonous.
Yeah. Thank you. Hoping the situation to get to normal, and hope you will be able to travel to Singapore soon, and we'll be able to enjoy your concerts.
Yes, I also.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thanks, sir. Namaskar.
Namaste.